Good day and welcome to the Edge Sunday stream. My name is Nathan North, a sometimes volunteer with Edge, and the person now speaking to you through the power of the internet. You'll have to excuse us. We have a new writer on the team who apparently doesn't care at all about the integrity of material. Today I've been instructed to deliver a special message to start us out on the right foot. A bunny foot. That's right, I'm here to wish all of you a happy Easter. I mean, an excellent day. Nope, this is too grave a matter to laugh about. I guess we just have to make like a stone and roll with it. We can rise to the occasion. If you missed that last one, don't worry about it. Just wait 3 days and it will come back to you. In other news, a man in Oakland County was distraught when his vehicle struck a rabbit earlier today. His concern only escalated as he realized by the scattered eggs and disheveled clothes that he had in fact slain the Easter bunny. Fortunately, a passerby who had witnessed the tragic accident stopped to offer aid. When shown the unfortunate victim, she sprang into action, grabbed an aerosol can from her purse, and sprayed the bunny. Without a second's delay, the rabbit, previously thought to be deceased, hopped back into action, collected his scattered possessions, and continued on his way, turning to wave goodbye repeatedly as he went. When interviewed about her ingenuity, the woman simply replied, "I used hairspray. The can said it would bring dead hair back to life and give it permanent wave." I do believe that last story may have been a farce. Frankly, I don't think yokes like that are very bunny. If anyone has suggestions for a new writer, I'm all ears. In the meantime, please enjoy the rest of the stream and have an Easter so good everyone will be dying to hear about it. That's it. Scott!
Hi, my name is Heather Schultz, and I just kind of wanted to let you know a little bit about my faith journey. My parents were Catholic, and so I used to attend a Catholic church all growing up. And in about 4th grade, I gave my heart to the Lord at a county fair. A gentleman asked a group of my friends, "Do you know if you're going to heaven or not?" And I didn't know the answer, so I stopped and I prayed with him. And was saved that day. And I walked away. He gave me a little bit, like a little Bible. And to be honest, I never thought of it after that. God continued to knock on my heart as I went into high school. But I didn't live in a home that really encouraged prayer or fostered a relationship with Jesus. So I kind of lost my way and I got involved in all these awesome sports. I played volleyball and did track. I got boyfriends and lots of friends in high school, and even into college. I played sports, and I strived to be the best teacher I could possibly be in all my classes, to be the best athlete, to be the best girlfriend. I jumped from boyfriend to boyfriend in all my groups of friends. If they were doing something, I was definitely influenced by what they were doing and took part in a lot of things that showed me that I was lost in the world, that I was striving for perfection and love in all the wrong places. It wasn't until I was 24 that I gave my heart to the Lord, and it was because he continued to knock. A friend of my fiance at the time, she asked and asked and asked, "Do you guys want to come to church? Do you want to come to church?" And God finally said, "Go to church with her." And I went to church, and I raised my hand in that pew and rededicated my life to Jesus Christ. And at that moment, I decided to follow him as a disciple. And that looked completely different. And because I started reading my Bible and going to church, and I stopped swearing and I stopped doing the things that I had once done, because God was showing me what true love meant. My friends stopped asking me to hang out, and my fiance left me because he said we're going in 2 completely separate directions. The house that we had bought together was in his name, so I no longer had a home to live in, and God provided for me. He showed me sunsets that he created and showed me how sovereign he was and how much he loved me and adored me and created me for a purpose and created me for this time, and that there was no other love than his, and there was no other purpose but to serve him and glorify him in all that he has done for me. And God brought new friends into my life. He gave me a home. And even though all things were taken away in this world that I cherished and I loved, he showed me that the greatest love was his. And every Easter, I'm reminded of that. Easter to me is my favorite holiday. It is the one that reminds me what true love is, and it is the greatest love story I could ever be a part of. It's where Jesus died on the cross to save me in all my sin and all the things that I had done in the past and all the things I continue to do and all the things that I'm growing in. And he died, and on the third day he rose again on Easter Sunday. And there is no better love than him laying his life down to save me. And I'm nothing, I'm no one, and he thinks I'm the greatest, and he loves me more than anything. And to me, Easter is love, and Easter is the sacrifice that Jesus made, and it is the greatest thing that I could ever experience in my whole entire life. And every Easter Sunday, I'm reminded of this great joy. Before Jesus, I sought love in all the wrong places and perfection. And after Jesus, I learned what true love is, and it has saved my life, and it saves me every single day.
Happy Easter, guys. My name is Michael. I'm the high school director here at Kensington with our program Edge. And I say it every week, but I really mean this. I miss you guys. Every week I get to see a couple of you during the week, at least from your driveways, and honestly, it's the highlight of my week. That, and when we get to talk to you on Instagram, or some of you are interacting with us on YouTube or GroupMe, or hopefully our Zoom chats. We'll have one later today or later after this. But yeah, it's great to see you when I can. We cannot wait to be back together. But we are glad that everyone is taking their part or doing their part in staying safe for the people who need us to. So again, happy Easter. Today's Sunday stream, it's going to be a little shorter, and it's going to be a little different. There's no games today. There's just a quick story, there's a reading, a little reflection, and then a very important question for you before you hit up small groups. Because we really want you to be thinking about this idea of what's next. Because we know, even though right now it feels like we're in the middle of quarantine forever, it's not going to be the same way for long. Things are going to get back to normal. There's a very important question to start asking now before we get too close to the end of it. So if you are here and you're hoping for a lot more entertainment, just know we have a lot of other videos that you can see up here in the corner. We've been putting stuff out on YouTube the last month and a half, actually before all this craziness started. So there's a bunch of stuff for you to watch that'll keep you pretty interested, not just with us, but with students too, and with some of your leaders. So if you want to be entertained, just go back and scroll through some of our videos on our channel. But today is more of a reflective day than anything else. Here's why. Because I know right now you have probably done some celebrating with your family, right? You've already done some Easter celebration. Maybe some of you streamed the church service already. Some of you probably went for a walk. Some very lucky few of you were allowed to sleep till noon today, like you have all week long. For most of you, right now, if you're watching this, Easter's pretty much done for you. Like, it's done. You're at the end of your day. You've already celebrated. You already had your baskets or whatever. And you're already thinking, what's next? What am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do later this week? Besides maybe just sit in my room and play video games. So today we're going to find out how the disciples were actually in a situation just like ours. They were stuck inside of their homes just following Easter Sunday, that very first Easter. And I guarantee you they were asking the very same questions that you and I are asking. What's next? Now, here's something that's super important to remember in all of this. While you're reading this story, don't forget that this is not a surprise for us. Like we've heard this story before, right? You most likely have heard some form of the Easter story before, but to the disciples, it was a new story. It was new. It was happening right then. They didn't know. And it actually, the reason it rocks our world today is because of how greatly it rocked their world first.
After the Sabbath, As the first light of the new week dawned, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to keep vigil at the tomb.
And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord had descended from heaven, approached, rolled back the stone, and sat upon it.
Shafts of lightning blazed from him. His garments shimmered snow white. The guards at the tomb were scared to death. They were so frightened they couldn't move.
Then the angel spoke to the women. "Don't be afraid," he said. "I know you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He isn't there. He is risen from the dead, just as he said would happen."
Come and look at the place where he was placed. Now get on your way quickly and tell his disciples, he is risen from the dead. He is going on ahead of you to Galilee. You will see him there. That's the message.
The woman, deep in wonder and full of joy, lost no time in leaving the tomb. They ran to tell the disciples.
Then Jesus met them, stopping them in their tracks. "Good morning," he said. They fell to their knees, embraced his feet, and worshipped him.
Jesus said, "You're holding on to me for dear life. Don't be frightened like that."
Go tell my brothers, go to Galilee, and they will see me.
As the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and told the leading priests what had happened. A meeting with the elders was called, and they decided to give the soldiers a large bribe.
They took a large sum of money and gave it to the soldiers, bribing them to say, "His disciples came in the night and stole the body while they were sleeping." They assured them, "If the governor ever hears you were sleeping on duty, we will make sure that you don't get blamed." The soldiers took the bribe and did as they were told.
That story cooked up the Jewish High Council and is still going around.
The 11 disciples went to Galilee to the mountain, to which Jesus had ordered them. When they saw him, they worshipped, but they doubted.
The moment they saw him, they worshipped him. Some, though, held back, not sure about worship, about risking themselves totally.
Then Jesus approached and said to them, "All power in heaven and on earth has been given to me.
"Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit.
Then instruct them in the practice of all I have commanded you.
I'll be with you.
I will be with you
I am with you always."
I'll be with you.
I'll be with you to do this.
day after day, right up until the end of age.
And behold, I am with you always until the end of the age."
So about 6 years ago, I got to be the fun uncle. I love being the fun uncle to my, the funkle, I guess, to my nephews and nieces. And I got a chance to take my little nephew Colin and my niece Avery down to Detroit. They'd not been before, and I took them down to see the Michigan Science Center, which is pretty cool if you're a kid. And then I just wanted to show them downtown. So I went up to Flint and I picked them up, and they piled in the car and got them in their car seats and stuff, and we headed down to Detroit. And about 10 minutes into our ride, I realized I had not prepared for the ride down. I was prepared for while we were there, but I was not prepared for the ride down. Have you ever gone on a trip with a preschooler and a young elementary kid? Every 5 minutes, they were asking, "How far away is it? Where are we now? Where are we now?" I had nothing, and my radio didn't work. I didn't have anything. It was a really crappy car. So I had nothing to entertain them while I'm driving a long drive from Flint down to Detroit. And so they were always wanting to know this one question: "Uncle Michael, what's next? Uncle Michael, what's next?" So we came up with this game. I made this game where I told them different things. Thankfully, I knew like some of the landmarks that we would see before we got to Detroit. So I gave them landmarks to watch out the window for. Tell me when you see Great Lakes Crossing, when you see the big mall. Tell me when you see the palace. Well, rest in peace. Tell me when you see the giant trash heap. Tell me when you see this. And I just gave them different things to look forward to until we eventually got there. At first, I was a little bit annoyed. But then I realized this is what we do. We always want to know what's next. Because I think one of the things that sets us apart as humans from other creatures is we have a bent toward looking for the future. Actually, Elizabeth and I do this too. Every morning when we wake up, or even actually every night before we go to bed, we ask our Amazon Echo, I don't want to say her name, what the weather is going to be the next day. Or we'll ask, what's it going to be the rest of the week? We do this. We want to know the future. I've been doing some driveway visits. So Sam and myself have been going and visiting students. And while we're hanging out in your driveway from a social distance, we've been asking you questions. And I've watched and I've noticed that some of you have noted that you are realizing that you are not very good at coming up with things to do or with making plans. Some of you are discovering that you actually are good at thinking through what's next. And I think it's a skill we can all learn. I want to take a note from the disciples and see how they approach life during crazy times after the first Easter. You see, they had a very crazy couple of weeks. They went from influencers to potential political leaders to criminals to laughingstocks to fugitives and then to outcasts, all in the span of like 3 weeks. And think of it this way. Their friend, their leader, their revolution died. When Jesus died, everything they were about, everything they gave their entire 3 years of their lives, if not more, to doing and preparing for, in their mind was gone. The streets were silent. Their movement was dead. They didn't have jobs. They didn't have Zoom. Like, they were stuck where they were at. But people saw Jesus. They saw him walking around, and not everyone believed. Not all the disciples believed at first. But those who saw couldn't stop talking about it because they saw him alive. But then it didn't stop there, because Jesus actually showed up in the middle of them. He showed up in their quarantine. He sat them down and he reminded them of all the things he taught them. And he said, listen, you've got to go. It's time to take these things that you've learned out into the world. It's time to go. They didn't take him at his word, and they actually gave up. And how do we know this? Because just days later, after the resurrection, after they saw Jesus, he found them not sharing the good news, not doing anything he told them to, not doing anything they were taught, anything that they knew, anything they knew they were called to do. You know what they were doing? They went back home, like to their home. They went back to their jobs fishing. Jesus, when he found them again, he found them in the very same place where he had originally found them, doing the very same things that they were originally doing. And I want to say right now, you are in the very same spot. Everything's a little weird right now, right? You have no sports. You have no practices. You have no school. You've got no work, no jobs. Well, some of you have jobs, but you're not working very much. You have more time to breathe than you ever will again in your entire life. Yes, it's annoying, but right now you have a chance to spend some time with Jesus in a way you may never get again. You get a chance right now to think about what your future is going to look like. So I have a question. When our doors open, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to live differently? Are you going to be radical? Are you going to follow the leading of the Spirit? Or are you going to settle right back into what's normal? See, the disciples, they chose normal. They saw Jesus alive. Yet, when they had the chance to lead, to test out their faith, when freedom finally came to them, they chose to go back to normal. They went right back to fishing. They went right back to doing what they were raised to do. And they weren't even really that good at it. They hadn't catch fish. They hadn't caught it the first time Jesus found them, and they weren't catching fish now. And they were trading everything that they could have had because they were afraid, or because they didn't know what to do, so they chose what was normal. But thankfully, Jesus met them there again when they tried to go back to normal. And he forgave them, he gave them grace, and he told them that their calling was still there. And right before he left, he reminded them of their promise. He said this, in Acts 1:8, he says, but you will receive power. After I leave, you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses, telling people about me everywhere, in Jerusalem, through Judea, in Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. Jesus called God's Spirit the Comforter because it's with us. It's God with us and God empowering us. You know what? They chose to follow the Spirit. They chose to learn how to follow the Spirit. They learned to listen. They learned in the quiet times, and they practiced it when they were out. So my friends, this is going to end. Our future is coming. This quarantine is not going to last. And sure, you're stuck right now, but you are already thinking about the future. But what kind of future are you thinking about? You have a chance right now to reset so many things, so many rhythms that aren't actually healthy. Right now, we are seeing what is important and what isn't actually important. So my question for you is, what's next? Are you going to choose a future that is based off of what's normal? Are you going to chase what everyone else has chased? Are you going to keep being so busy that you can't invest in what's important, that you can't invest in what's healthy for you and what's going to impact the world? Are you going to go back home and go fishing? Or are you going to step out of the boat and go into what Jesus is calling you to do? Are you going to follow his spirit? Are you going to learn his voice? Or are you going to pick what's normal? That same spirit that resurrected Jesus is in you. May we choose to learn to listen to the Spirit, to take this time to be present right now while knowing that when these doors are open, we are going to follow the Spirit out of what's normal and into a life that's abundant, a life that will actually affect our world, a life that will actually overflow within us. May we trust that Spirit. And may we know that it happened all because of Jesus. Happy Easter, my friends. We'll see you in the Zoom chat afterwards, and we'll see you in the show tomorrow.